Welcome to Agape Social Justice, where we focus on love, truth, and justice. Agape Social Justice family, I cannot believe we are at the end of Season 2 already. I feel like it went by so fast. Maybe it's because Season 1 we were like crazy, didn't know what we were doing, and did like 26 episodes, which could have been 2 seasons right there. But it feels like this went by so fast. And honestly, I didn't expect some of the conversations to be what they were this season. We had way more of a statewide global perspective, which I absolutely loved. But we're going to dig into that a little bit deeper. And as you probably see, my guest with me today is Walter.
Hey, Agape family, I'm back.
So we're going to do a season recap, just like we did in Season 1. Talk about some of our favorite episodes that we're going to re-air, and just some of the insights that we had since we talked to those guests. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you get started first.
Well, as you said, we had an international flair. And what stands out for me was that of Pastor Wilson. I did a lot of work with Pastor Wilson in Inkster, when I was, before I retired from the Michigan State Police. And he just brought that perspective in terms of what's happening at the UN. And for me, what was really important is that he's bringing that faith element into the UN. Because oftentimes we think of the UN and, the United Nations as this organization that's really oblivious of anything that has to do with faith. It's all about diplomacy and bureaucracy. But this man, actually a minister of the gospel, is actually leading services at that particular institution. So, that was really eye-opening for me. And I'm glad that he really agreed to do it.
Yeah, and I think too, with his episode and making the connection between the global perspective and local, right?
Yes.
I feel like people either do one or the other, right? And he's in a unique position where he can impact the local community of Inkster, he can impact the state, and he's doing things on a larger scale. And one of the things he talked about too was this new council, I think it is, where he's working with faith leaders around the world, and they're talking about solving problems right now today. And so I think many of us talk about what do we need to do to get to the point where we're kind of all working together. And here we know someone who's actually doing just that and making an impact in the world. So,
which is huge.
That's huge. Like,
can't we all just get along? And that's exactly what he's espousing, at the UN, at the United Nations.
Right. And in our local community, we've talked a lot. As this is airing, we're in, a crisis right now in many ways on many fronts. But what's on the news the most is the Middle East crisis.
Yes.
And, Pastor Wilson is someone who has sat with everybody, at the table in terms of talking about how to come together. And so I think now I'm always going to think about him in that interview when we hear people saying you either have to choose this side or this side, but we can't come together. Mm-hmm. I'm going to always think about him.
And then when we talk about, the crisis in the Middle East, then we had my friend as well, Ahmad,
right.
From the American Human Rights Council. That was a powerful interview as well. Because really he educated me when he talked about the human Bill of Rights that the UN enacted many, many years ago. And he said, really take a look at it and you'll see, a lot of the injustices that are going on throughout the continent. Throughout the globe as it relates to human rights violations. So that was eye-opening. I didn't know that there was a human rights Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm. I knew about the Declaration of Human Rights, and I actually learned about it from another faith. I can't remember the organization that introduced me to it. And I actually have a DVD at home, and I remember watching it and saying, why didn't we learn about this in school? Mm-hmm. Why aren't we talking about it? And I think even when Ahmad was on the show, I might have referenced that's something that we need to put into our curriculum in the schools. We talk about teaching our kids to be global citizens, but I'm like, are we really doing that? I don't know that we really are. That's something I think we should probably push for and make sure you're in schools, I'm in schools. Let's start mentioning that when we go before Certainly. These administrators, because I think it could change our landscape locally as well as how we operate with one another. And Ahmad actually, I think we had referenced that that he was going to have a gala, but unfortunately that had to be, canceled because of.
I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just a place where you get in the room with kind of the who's who, but really it's about bringing us together and talking about our shared humanity and recognizing people who are actually on the ground doing the work. But
Exactly.
totally understand with what's happening right now in the crisis that it's not really doesn't really feel appropriate, right, to come together and celebrate. But definitely want to give him a shout out for all of the wonderful work that he's doing. And then also we had Rabbi Asher Lopatin who came on,
Which
and
was the
talked
week,
to
which
us
was the
too.
week prior to the international conflict over there in the Middle East. It was actually a week prior to.
That's right. It seemed, I don't want to say that these episodes were timely, but in a sense, I almost feel like they were, because I feel like
Yes.
now I can kind of go to something, a video, to show people not only Ahmad talking about how the Arab American community feels or the Muslim community feels, but also to point to Rabbi Asher and the work that he does.
Yes.
Because while he talks about what happens within the Jewish community, and not just the Jewish community in Israel, but talking about locally what that looks like and that shared humanity that we have. And you and you got a chance to come to the Black and Jewish Unity Coalition barbecue that we had. That was around the time I interviewed Rabbi Asher too.
The barbecue wasn't that good, but yeah, I was there.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you
Well,
just said that on air.
I'm a barbecue epicure master. What can I say?
Well, I mean, with my allergies, I couldn't even taste it, so I can't speak on it. But it was good. It was good food, good fellowship.
Yeah, the fellowship was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to have people who come into that space, I think to remind us that during the civil rights, we came together, we worked together. There were multiple faiths who came together to help. But one of the things that they like to do is bring the Black community and the Jewish community together and say, listen, we have shared experiences even today. Like, what's interesting is that how many of these groups are at odds, but we're all at the top of the list in terms of dealing with racism and discrimination on a global, basis, but
Certainly.
here locally in our communities. And that's what really baffles me sometimes and why we're at odds. So they're trying to bring unity and do that. And so we had an opportunity to talk to them too.
Yeah, when you talk about our Arab community as well as that of the Jewish, as well as that of us Christians, we're all from Father Abraham. So, I mean, we're related.
Right. We're all brothers and sisters.
That's right.
And
That's right.
my hope is that at some point, as we see this crisis and many other crises that we are ignoring, even in our own native land, that doesn't get the media attention, my hope is that we will begin to see one another's shared human existence and figure out how we can call out wrongs on all sides, right? There is no one side that's all right, but on all sides, and value any human life that has been lost. And we need to do that, whether it's in the hood, whether it's in the burbs, whether it's in a rural community, or wherever it is across this globe.
That's right.
How we really need to be. And transitioning from that and talking about shared human experience and being just good, decent human beings, I think about this season, how we re-aired Kimber's episode from season 1. It was episode 3 for season 1, and we brought her on to talk about the issue of homelessness. That's a crisis, right? This is a national crisis that's taking place in our country, and a lot of people still aren't familiar with it. And so then we brought her on so that she could talk about, give us some updates in terms of what's happening. What struck you the most as you kind of learned about this crisis?
Well, from season 1, I tell you what it did for me. It motivated me that during Labor Day, this past Labor Day, I barbecued and I sponsored 3 or 4 families, with some, again, my world famous Epicurean barbecue. Thank you very much. But I went out because of that, because of that episode that we aired with Kimber. I reached out to her and said, well, how can I help? How can I bless some people during Labor Day, I mean, because we're always giving away turkeys and that type of thing for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But oftentimes, during these summer holidays, people they go without as well. So how can I bless some people with some barbecue? And that was really eye opening. I mean, I've worked with homeless organizations when I was on the job as a Michigan State Trooper, as the post community service trooper, but I got paid to do that. I did an excellent job, but to step out on your own and take money out of your own pocket, it was certainly an eye-opening and rewarding experience.
And why was it important for you to make sure the kids went?
So that they can understand exactly what happens on the other side of the railroad tracks, and that some people find themselves in situations of homelessness, and it's not the characteristic or what we want to paint individuals who are irresponsible or who are drug addicted and that type of thing. Like, for instance, the first people that we dropped the barbecue off to, they were actually unemployed, displaced graphic artists. And lo and behold, our oldest daughter, who is a graphic artist, so she could identify with them right away. And the one guy, he actually worked extensively with the M&M Corporation, not Eminem the rapper, but M&M the candy people, and had a lot to do with the development of those big M&M dummies that you see on TV, the
Wow.
characters. And then the young lady as well, she was a graphic artist, but for whatever reason, they fell on hard times and they find themselves to be homeless, and they're homeless.
I think for me, we have previously mentioned that our family worked on a documentary. Our youngest daughter wrote part of the script
Yes.
with Burke Video, and I played a hand. Didn't realize I was going to end up, trying to do a little producing, not knowing what I was going to do. But I think as I was going through that documentary, it kind of shifted some things, I think, for our family in terms of thinking about who are the people who are homeless, right? And we ended up landing on the title, The Hidden Faces of Homelessness, because we stereotype people. And I think for us, it was very important that we did showcase people who had normal lives, and even, partially just putting a snippet in there of our own story, as we talked about in season 1, going through 3 different homes with black mold and needing to get out of the homes. When we were leasing and needing somewhere to stay. And so we found ourselves fitting, into that definition of not having a home, of being houseless. So I think that those episodes will probably always be very important to me, near and dear to my heart. And then, as you know, we have the documentary screening that we're going to air as well.
That's going to be huge.
Yes.
I mean, I really got excited about that in terms of watching the trailer and then watching the whole thing play out. Because we have a pageant in our household for that of the media arts, with Courtney, being a graphic artist, and Maddie, who did a year, she went to film camp this year at American University, and she's a high school senior, and obviously she has an interest in that of film production. So, I mean, I really got excited about, the possibilities of what's going to happen with not just serving the homeless community and bringing awareness to that situation, but other documentaries that may be inside of us that you never know that we may produce.
Right.
Because our lived experience, as you mentioned, in terms of, we were homeless as well and having gone through black mold, in addition to other crises that we've lived through, whether vicariously or in our own family, we certainly have enough information or subject matter to go ahead and produce some more documentaries to bring awareness to the problems that are out here.
And that's so true, because I feel like at the end of the documentary, you brought up topics like, oh, we didn't talk about this. And we were like, oh, that would take us in a whole nother direction, right? We could easily identify other topics. The same thing happens on the show. What people don't see is that when the camera stops rolling or recording, we have conversations with the guests afterwards. And I feel like we could always have like a part 2 or part 3 with some of the people, because there's just so much information that we can share. And so who knows? Who knows what we'll do? Who knows what guests we'll bring back? I thought about
Because like
how
with Danny Cox,
I was just going to mention Danny.
I mean, it was so much that he didn't tell, that we really should have captured. But we ran
I
out of
know.
time.
I feel like we need to bring him back because I felt like something shifted, like something profound happened after the camera stopped recording. I mean, his episode is great and his testimony is powerful and the work that he's doing is amazing. But I was like, man, we shouldn't have stopped rolling. We should have kept the cameras going. And that happens often. Same thing. I feel like whether we're talking about the Open Table Collective with Danny and all of the inclusive work and loving on people, loving our neighbor. But I felt the same way with Livonia Perryman. I was like, this woman has done so much. How do there's no way to put that in 30 minutes.
It was almost like a civil rights history lesson. All the work that she did with Jesse Jackson and his organization, and I actually forgot that he won the state of Michigan in terms of presidential primary. It's like, wow, and and still being connected to the man as she is to this very day, and needless to say, the commitment that her family made, to Jesse Jackson and his organization to get the word out, that was just so impressive. And then you guys came up with an idea to pull together a Black African American ancestral collective where the old heads come in and they mentor the young, the younger generation, to try to fill that gap as it relates to civil rights work. And so a lot of promise. It was a great episode. With Livonia.
Yeah.
And her radio show is awesome as well.
Yeah, her show has been great. She talked real talk about what it's like to be in this political arena and her thoughts on, how candidates today, some people who are candidates today who need to step aside and us work together, like just a lot of really good information that's affecting our lives right now here today. Our other guest who we had on, who we'll mention before we close out, is we had Bart, who came back on. When Bart first came on, he came on as a clinical psychologist or clinical researcher, and he was talking about the family and not just the Black family, but the family as a whole in terms of the our country and some of the statistics related to that people don't know about. But then Bart came back because Bart is now a part of the Rick TV network with the Rick and Bart show.
Yes.
And so he came back on too and talking about what he has to offer. So I can't wait to check their show out. Rick Williams is one of the co-owners of Rick TV. And so it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. And then I did something unique that I'll close us out on here. And that is I decided to do 2 episodes where I didn't have a guest. I pretty much just kind of laid it all out there in terms of things that was on my heart. I mean, more than anybody that I came into the studio on many days, not just tired like we are today, not just tired, exhausted, sleep deprived, but really conflicted internally. Like I felt like my soul just wasn't at ease because of some of the things that I've been hearing, some of the things I've been experiencing and going through. And I needed to just get it off my chest. And I'm like, why have a platform if I'm not going to talk about it, right? And so came on and kind of talked about that. And what's your quick assessment? Like if you had to, give a 1-sentence response to what you heard me sharing, what were your thoughts?
You cannot bear the burden of the world. That's my advice. You cannot bear the burden of the world because that's what you carry it about. And the reason that you just exploded on the show in terms of just showing, revealing your heart is that that's inside of you and you're carrying it. And my advice is that unfortunately, we can only do so much. Yes, we should have the capacity within us in terms of a mentality that I want to help as many people as possible. But at some point, we really have to take, we have to look at ourselves and understand that, we're human beings and that our mental health, our physical health, and all of that is important. So we have to really balance that. And that's what I suggest for you is to balance all of that passion that you have inside of you And yes, this is a great outlet, and this is a good opportunity for you to be able to spill it out, upon upon a viewing crowd that may very well take up your passion, take up our passion, and move forward in those areas.
Yeah, because the more people we have who are actually willing to do this work, it won't feel like so much of a burden for the
Yes.
same people over and over, but we need people to step up.
Right.
And I think part of it is there's a difference between, oh, I just want to go volunteer today, versus when God has spoken and you have a calling and he said for you to go do this thing or go say this thing. And I think that was part of it for many of the guests I've had on my show. This is a calling. This is the purpose in which we feel we were born to do. But it was certainly lighten the load, and we certainly need to balance that with self-care.
Yes.
The other thing I wanted to say quickly as we are running out of time is that we are pretty intentional with the people that we think about bringing on this show. We showcase people, we promote people because we want you to know who they are, but we also want you to find a way that you can plug into the work, right? I have people ask all the time, as I've said before, Stephanie, what can I do to get involved? How can I help? I don't really know where to turn. Well, we've given you 26 episodes from season 1 and now 13 episodes from season 2. Choose one. Choose one person who resonates with your story, your lived experience, someone you know, and then jump in and figure out how you can reach out to them or how you can do that work locally in your own community. Doesn't have to be local for us or where we are, but you can do this anywhere in the country. Part of the reason why we wanted to do these episodes is so you can learn and you can grow personally and you can extend the relationships that you have to people you don't currently know and how you can take action and move forward. My whole focus for being here, honestly, is so that we can have agape love for one another. We can change our communities and we can change the world. We love you all. We thank you so much for sharing this opportunity with our family, with Rick TV. We hope you tune in next season. We look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much.
And buy some merch.
Yes, buy some merch.
Homelessness is a crisis that affects millions of Americans every year. But for some, it's more than just a temporary setback. It's a life sentence. In this documentary, we'll shine a light on the hidden world of homeless people and explore the challenges they face every day. From the streets of Detroit to the halls of government, we'll follow the stories of those who are fighting for change and ask the question, why are we failing our most vulnerable citizens?
You were constantly being put in an endless loop of nothingness, really. And meanwhile, you don't know when you're gonna end up on the street. And being blind, it's like, God, am I gonna find a warm place tonight?
I was totally, unable to do anything for myself. I had my hip been bad like 10 years and it's slowly deteriorating.
To be in a shelter and do those for months or years, however long you have to be in there, that takes a lot for a person to do.
It can be very mentally draining, and in some instances can cause you to think of suicide.
Too many people in need, and not enough resources to make a real difference. From a bird's eye view, the problem seems to be overwhelming. From ground level, it really is much worse.
Hi, this is we had contacted you guys about helping us find a place. I know that you guys said y'all a small company, but if there's any way you guys can help us, we have to relocate next Monday and really have no place to go. I'm not asking for you to pay for a room or anything like that, or if there's anything you guys can help us, please. We've been over this situation. We've been in this hotel situation for a year now, and please, ma'am, please, please, thank you.
The current state of disjointed and complicated support programs reflects the urgent need for comprehensive reform. By establishing better coordination, communication, and clearly defined pathways, we can alleviate the burden placed on individuals, reduce trauma, and create a more efficient and effective system that addresses the root cause of homelessness.
But then when you're right here in our neighborhood, in my district, and you know that there's 200 children that are classified homeless and numerous families that are living in places that I will not disclose, and they cannot get the help because we have so many different organizations replicating themselves but not necessarily dealing with the issue at hand, then it leaves this big gaping hole, and we need to work on a solution by bringing all of these stakeholders together and identifying the problem and have a single pass-through that serves the people who are in this condition.
And at the end of the day, unless you have the relationship on the street, I really believe that's the missing link to success, to getting people out of their homeless journey, is you have to not only get them on the bridge, but you got to walk with them across that bridge to get them across. They don't know what they don't know.
I think what would be awesome is if we could have one volunteer be paired up with each family unit who's homeless. Because I think that if somebody would team up with that person, then they would know directly what their needs are.
You know, we have been talking to a lot of people at every level in this business, and some of them are not aware of all the paperwork. And it's just over and over, you keep running into these walls.
I think that some of these individuals need to do a day in a life of, and so perhaps you are walking alongside someone who is experiencing homelessness, and then you get to experience it firsthand. What is it like when they call your organization? Oh, wow, I didn't know that they were answering the phone and they were being rude and disrespectful to people like that, right?
I think I would feel better if we was to call 211 and they don't hang up or stop trying to help you until they know you are safe. That would be great. Like, if they, only way y'all hang up is if they know you will be safe.
And I want people to know that they are worthy, that they are valuable, and that there are people there who will partner with them and help them get out of this situation.
You have to treat everybody with, just kindness and love. That's all. That's what I was shown by you.
I hope that it's something that I've said here today that you could take into your lives and be a light to somebody.
Hey, Agape Social Justice family. Thank you so much for tuning in every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. We appreciate it. And as we told you before, we would have a merch store, and we do. This is our V-neck ladies shirt, and you can find this on AgapeSocialJustice.com. This is our logo, and it says love, truth, and justice, which is what you know we stand for. We also have a mug, and we have the logo on the mug. You can find this on the website as well as a phone case, a pen, a tote bag, and a number of other accessories, even a hoodie. You can find that on AgapeSocialJustice.com. Feel free to spread the word. Go to our social media on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on X. We're Agape Social Justice. And so look for us there, and we thank you. We appreciate you. See you next time.
Hi there, Agape Social Justice family. My name is Walt Kreider, Stephanie's husband. Of course, you know about the show and what we stand for, but I got a real stupid question for you. How many of you were offended when you saw that of Tyree Nichols, as well as the other homicides that the police have created throughout our country? Well, we have created an organization called Police to Protectors. That's police, the number 2, protectors with an S.org. What do we stand for? It's all about transforming the police into that of the protectors. Because what do we care about in our communities? You know, we don't care about being policed. We don't care about being ticketed. We care about being protected. And that's exactly what we're talking about in terms of reimagining what the police, what law enforcement, what our protectors can actually reflect and bring to our communities. So not only just join this effort, because yes, we need your support, but also we need your financial support. Check us out, police2protectors.org.